Welcome. I am Brian Keith Nelson, and this is Uncomplicating Dungeons and Dragons. Part 5. Spells. Up to this point, I've been keeping it pretty simple and basic with you in terms of the dice involved. With d20s being the most used dice in this game, I figured we'd give you a little bit of time to get a feel for the flow of play before I start throwing modifiers and damage dice at you. So now, let's introduce you to your dice! Starting with the tiniest of the bunch, but out of game the fiercest, the treacherous tetrahedron, otherwise known as the D4. You can use it to gamble or go 40k deep with a hammer. The hellish hexahedron. The D6! Whether you're fighting Spider-Man or clotheslining Sasuke, you can always rely on the overwhelming octahedron, aka the D8. Dealing with a defiant devil dooming your party with a dirty dozen of dastardly demons? Deal damage with the deadly dodecahedron itself. The D12. And of course, the ruler of them all. The iconic icosahedron, the almighty D20. There's also the pentagonal trapezohedron known as the D10, but I'm not coming up with something for that. You don't even know how many times I just tried to say that in a recording without messing up. Just know it's a percentile roll. If that is happening, there's a whole list of potential things that could happen, may occur, may appear. Who knows? That depends on your DM. But yeah, the percentile roll. D10, mostly that or certain weapons, but we'll get into that later. While you may not use all the dice in your set, you should be familiar with the dice your character will use based off of their class abilities and unique builds. So first, let's get the most complicated part out of the way and start with the wonderful world of magic. Each spell belongs to a school of magic. The following categories help describe spells but have no rules of their own. The School of Abjuration can prevent or reverse harmful effects. The School of Conjuration can transport creatures or objects. The School of Divination reveals information. The School of Enchantment influences minds. The School of Evocation channels energy to create effects that are often destructive. The School of Illusion deceives the mind or senses. The School of Necromancy manipulates life and death. And the School of Transmutation transforms creatures or objects. Before you can cast a spell, you must have it prepared, be it in a spellbook, on a spell scroll, or in your cerebral library. Some features may give you a list of spells you must also have prepared, and if so, those spells do not count against the amount of spells you choose to prepare. Your class features will specify which spells you will have access to, if any. If you have a list of spells level 1 or above, your class will determine when you can change out a spell and how often you are able to do so. Bards, sorcerers, and warlocks can only swap their spells when they gain a level, and the rest can swap their spells after they finish a long rest. But only clerics, druids, and wizards can swap out as many spells as they want, while the rest are limited to just one. Every spell has a level ranging from 0 being a cantrip one can cast at will, to level 9 being the most powerful. These spell levels are gained as your character levels up and are managed by spell slots, which we will cover in more detail later. There are a few ways to cast spells without using up spell slots, with cantrips being the main way of doing so. There are also certain spells that have a ritual tag in the casting time, which means that spell can be casted without expending a spell slot by taking 10 minutes to cast that spell. Another way is through the use of special abilities that allow a creature to cast spells without a slot in a limited way, such as a certain number of times per rest. Lastly, the use of magical items such as spell scrolls or tomes also allow magic without the use of a spell slot, but they are used up once that spell is cast. Spells have 3 ranges, distance being the amount of feet a spell can travel towards a target, touch if it requires the caster to touch the target, or self if the spell is meant to be casted upon the caster. Most spells require the magic action to cast, but there are some that may be casted by using a bonus action, reaction, or in a certain amount of time. A spell's casting time entry specifies which of these is required to cast. Each spell's description will also list the required components needed to cast, such as verbal, represented by the letter V, somatic, represented by the letter S, and or materials, represented by the letter M. Verbal means the caster must be able to speak in at least a regular speaking voice to cast. If they are silenced by magical or non-magical means, they are unable to cast that spell until they are able to once again speak. Somatic means the caster must have at least one hand free to perform a set of gestures in order to cast that spell. Material means the caster must have the required materials listed to cast that spell. Some materials may be used up by the spell, while some simply require the caster to be in possession of the item. Spellcasters must also have a free hand to access these materials. Spells also have a time duration that determines how long their effects persist after casting. Spells with an instantaneous duration appear the moment the spell is cast and then disappear. Spells with the time span duration specify how long the spell lasts in either rounds, minutes, hours, etc. Spells that require concentration means the caster may only use one spell that requires concentration at a time. You lose concentration of that spell the moment you cast another spell that requires concentration. If the caster takes damage while concentrating, they must succeed on a Constitution saving throw to maintain concentration on that spell, with the difficulty either being a base of 10 or half the damage taken from each attack. As long as the caster isn't incapacitated, they can also dismiss a time span duration spell anytime before. Each spell will also have a list of effects that come with casting the spell that usually include targets, attack rolls, and or saving throws. To target something with the spell, the caster must have a clear path to the target. Some spells have what is known as an AoE, or area of effect, where spell effects can take place within a given radius, or the spell flows out in a certain shape. Those shapes will either be a line, cone, cube, cylinder, or emanation and sphere. If a spell is cast upon a target that is not affected by the spell, nothing happens to the target, but anything used to cast that spell, including the spell slot, is expended. Unless the target has a perceptible effect, they are unaware they are being targeted by a spell. Now, obviously, this is a very simple summary of using magic in D&D. There's an entire list of spells that I'm not going to go over in detail or anything like that, because it would definitely benefit you all to look at them yourself. Kind of get a feel for all of that, what you want to do, what you may want to use, combine them with each other, what may help out. It also comes in the building with your party, but that's a whole other step. We're not quite there yet. However, we are getting closer, because now it's time to design your adventurer. Part 6. Character creation. There you are, ready and anxious to start playing some good old-fashioned D&D. So where do we start? Well, a few things to consider before we start crafting a character of your creation. How do you want to play? Want to be up close in the fight, or slinging spells from afar? Do you want to teleport through the shadows to punch a demon in the face? Do you want to turn into a dinosaur and maul a group of furbolg for reasons? Well, here is where you can decide who your character will be and what they can do. First, we will begin with species, because in the 5e 2024 rule changes, there are no longer ability bonuses based on character lineage. So those are changed up a little bit from previous versions in this one, but I think the way they changed it up made it a little bit more fun to play. But we'll get there in a moment. For now, let's see if you're gonna have scales or skin. There are 10 species in the 2024 Player's Handbook, those being Aasimar, Dragonborn, Dwarf, Elf, Gnome, Goliath, Halfling, Human, Orc, and Tiefling. Aasimar are mortals who carry a spark of the upper planes within their souls. Whether descended from an angelic being or infused with celestial power, they can fan that spark to bring light, healing, and heavenly fury. Aasimar can live up to 160 years and have features that hint at their celestial heritage, such as metallic freckles, luminous eyes, a halo, or the skin color of an angel. These features start subtle and become obvious when the Aasimar learns to reveal their full celestial nature. Aasimar are humanoid. Their size can either be medium, 4 to 7 feet tall, or small, about 2 to 4 feet tall. Their movement speed is 30 feet. As an Aasimar, you have celestial resistance, granting resistance to necrotic and radiant damage. You also have dark vision with a range of 60 feet. You possess the Healing Hands feature, which allows you to touch a creature once per long rest and heal them, while also knowing the Light Cantrip. Charisma is your spellcasting ability. And at level 3, you can choose a transformation. Will you surround yourself in a necrotic shroud? Will you allow your inner radiance to flow freely from your body? Or will you grant yourself spectral heavenly wings to take flight? If these sound interesting to you, the Aasimar might be your creature of choice. The ancestors of Dragonborn hatched from eggs of chromatic and metallic dragons. One story holds that these eggs were blessed by the dragon gods Bahamut and Tiamat, who wanted to populate the multiverse with people created in their image. Another story claims the dragons created the first Dragonborn without the gods' blessings. Whatever their origin, Dragonborn have made homes for themselves on the material plane. Dragonborn look like wingless bipedal dragons, scaly, bright-eyed, and thick-boned with horns on their heads. And their coloration and other features are reminiscent of their draconic ancestors. Dragonborn are humanoid, medium-sized, about 5 to 7 feet tall, with a movement speed of 30 feet. Your draconic ancestry grants you an element that you can have damage resistance to, as well as utilize as your breath weapon. If you are black-scaled dragon, acid is your element. If you are blue, it is lightning. If you are brass, it is fire. If you are bronze, it is lightning. If you are copper, it is acid. If you are gold, it is fire. If you are green, it is poison. If you are red, it is fire. If you are silver, it is cold. If you are white, it is cold. As a Dragonborn, you have your breath weapon. When you take the attack action on your turn, you can replace one of your attacks with an exhalation of magical energy associated with your draconic ancestry. You also have dark vision with a range of 60 feet, and at level 5, can summon spectral wings associated with your draconic ancestry to fly for 10 minutes. If you don't mind scales and like the idea of magical elements shooting out of your mouth at your opponents, well, then Dragonborn might be the way for you to go. Dwarves were raised from the earth in the Elder Days by a deity of the Forge. Called by various names on different worlds, that god gave dwarves an affinity for stone and metal and for living underground. The god also made them resilient like the mountains, with a lifespan of about 350 years. As a dwarf, you are humanoid, medium size, about 4 to 5 feet tall, with a movement speed of 30 feet. You have dark vision with a range of 120 feet, and you have dwarven resilience, granting you resistance to poison damage and advantage on saving throws to help you avoid the poison condition. You have dwarven toughness, increasing your hit point maximum by 1 and increasing it by 1 again every time you level up. You also have stone cunning, which, as long as you are either standing on a stone surface or touching a stone surface, you can use tremor sense within a range of 60 feet for 10 minutes. A creature with tremor sense can pinpoint the location of creatures and moving objects within a specific range, provided that the creature with tremor sense and anything it is detecting are both in contact with the same surface. If the stone in the forge call out for you, then the path of the dwarf might be the path you choose. Cursed by the very god that created them and stripped of their ability to shapeshift at will, the elves retreated to the Feywild, where their sorrows were deepened by the plane's influence. Over time, curiosity led many of them to explore other planes of existence, including worlds in the material plane. Elves have pointed ears and lack facial and body hair. They live for around 750 years and they don't sleep, but instead enter a trance when they need to rest. In that state, they remain aware of their surroundings while immersing themselves in memories and meditations. As an elf, you are humanoid, medium size, about 5 to 6 feet tall, with a movement speed of 30 feet. You have dark vision within a range of 60 feet. You can choose your elven lineage to be either a drow, a high elf, or a wood elf. Each lineage will grant you supernatural abilities specific to that lineage. Drow typically dwell in the Underdark and have been shaped by it. Some drow individuals and societies avoid the Underdark altogether, yet carry its magic. At level 1 as a drow, the range of your dark vision increases to 120 feet, and you also know the Dancing Lights cantrip. High elves have been infused with the magic of crossings between the Feywild and the material plane. On some worlds, high elves refer to themselves by other names, such as sun or moon elves. With the high elf lineage at level 1, you know the prestidigitation cantrip, and whenever you finish a long rest, you can replace that cantrip with a different cantrip from the wizard spell list. Wood elves carry the magic of primeval forests within themselves. They are known by many other names, including wild elves, green elves, and forest elves. With the wood elf lineage at level 1, you know the druid craft cantrip, and your speed increases to 35 feet. Do the achievements of a forsaken people intrigue you? Then perhaps you should dive deeper into their lore by becoming an elf. Gnomes are magical folk created by gods of invention, illusion, and life underground. The earliest gnomes were seldom seen by other folk due to the gnomes' secretive nature and their propensity for living in forests and burrows. What they lacked in size, they made up for in cleverness. They confounded predators with traps and labyrinthine tunnels. The magic that gnomes learned from gods in disguise eventually created the lineages of forest gnomes and rock gnomes. Gnomes are petite folk with big eyes and pointed ears who live around 425 years. Many gnomes like the feeling of a roof over their head, even if that roof is nothing more than a hat. As a forest gnome, you know the minor illusion cantrip and also have the Speak with Animals spell prepared. You can cast Speak with Animals without using a spell slot a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. To quickly summarize a proficiency bonus is based on a character's total level, not just their class level, and it is a number that is added to a character's roll when they are proficient in a skill, attack, or saving throw. As a rock gnome, you know the Mending and Prestidigitation cantrips. In addition, you can spend 10 minutes casting Prestidigitation to create a tiny clockwork device such as a toy, fire starter, or music box. You can have 3 such devices in existence at a time, and each falls apart 8 hours after its creation or when you dismantle it. Towering over most folk, Goliaths are distant descendants of giants. Each Goliath bears the favors of the first giants, favors that manifest in various supernatural boons, including the ability to quickly grow and temporarily approach the height of Goliath's gigantic kin. Goliaths have physical characteristics that are reminiscent of the giants and their family lines. For example, some Goliaths look like stone giants, while others resemble fire giants. Whatever giants they count as kin, Goliaths have forged their own path in the multiverse. Goliaths are humanoid, medium-sized, about 7 to 8 feet tall, with a speed of 35 feet. As a Goliath, you are given a supernatural boon from your chosen giant ancestry. With the ancestry of a cloud giant, you can use a bonus action to magically teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. With the fire giant ancestry, you can deal an additional 1d10 fire damage when you hit a target with an attack roll and deal damage. With the ancestry of a frost giant, you can deal an additional d6 cold damage and reduce a target speed by 10 feet if you hit it with an attack roll and deal damage. With the hill giant ancestry, when you hit a large or smaller creature with an attack roll and deal damage to it, you can give that target the prone condition. With the stone giant ancestry, when you take damage, you can take a reaction to roll 1d12, add your constitution modifier to the number rolled and reduce the damage by that total. And with the storm giant ancestry, when you take damage from a creature within 60 feet of you, you can take a reaction to deal 1d8 thunder damage to that creature. As a Goliath, starting at level 5, you can change your size to large as a bonus action if you're in a big enough space. The transformation lasts for 10 minutes or until you end it. For that duration, you have advantage on strength checks and your speed is increased by 10 feet. Once you use this trait, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. And lastly, as a Goliath, you have advantage on any saving throw you make to end the grappled condition. You also count as one size larger when determining your carrying capacity. Do you feel the power of the giants flowing through you? Well, then perhaps you should embrace the path of the Goliath. Cherished and guided by gods who value life, home, and hearth, halflings gravitate towards bucolic havens where family and community help shape their lives. That said, many halflings possess a brave and adventurous spirit that leads them on journeys of discovery, affording them the chance to explore a bigger world and make new friends along the way. Their size, similar to that of a human child, helps them pass through crowds unnoticed and slip through tight spaces. Halflings who prefer to live underground are sometimes called strongheart halflings or stouts. Nomadic halflings, as well as those who live among humans and other tall folk, are sometimes called lightfoot halflings or tall fellows. Halflings are humanoid, small-sized, about 2 to 3 feet, with a movement speed of 30 feet. Thanks to the brave trait, you have advantage on saving throws you make to avoid or end the frightened condition. Due to your halfling nimbleness, you can move through the space of any creature that is a size larger than you, but you can't stop in the same space. Due to how lucky you are, when you roll a 1 on the d20 of a d20 test, you can re-roll the die and you must use the new roll. And since you're naturally stealthy, you can take the hide action even when you are obscured only by a creature that is at least one size larger than you. Are you inspired by the amount of courage and adventurous nature held within these small creatures? Well then perhaps you yourself should try your luck as a halfling. Found through the multiverse, humans are as varied as they are numerous, and they endeavor to achieve as much as they can in the years they are given. Their ambition and resourcefulness are commended, respected, and feared on many worlds. Humans are as diverse in appearance as the people of Earth, and they have many gods. Humans are Humanoid, who would have thought? With a medium size of about 4 to 7 feet tall, or small, about 2 to 4 feet tall, and have a movement speed of 30 feet. As a human, you also gain heroic inspiration whenever you finish a long rest, proficiency in one skill of your choice, and you gain an origin feat of your choice. Orcs trace their creation to a powerful god who roamed the wide open spaces of the material plane. This god equipped his children with gifts to help them wander great plains, vast caverns, and churning seas, and face the monsters that lurk there. Even when they turn their devotion to other gods, orcs retain their original god's gifts, endurance, determination, and the ability to see in darkness. Orcs are, on average, tall and broad. They have gray skin, ears that are sharply pointed, and prominent lower canines that resemble small tusks. Orcs are humanoid, medium size, about 6 to 7 feet tall, with a movement speed of 30 feet. As an orc, you have dark vision with a range of 120 feet. You can also trigger an adrenaline rush. With that, you can take the dash action as a bonus action. When you do so, you gain a number of temporary hit points equal to your proficiency bonus. You can use this trait a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a short or long rest. You also possess relentless endurance. When you are reduced to 0 hit points but not killed outright, you can drop to 1 hit point instead. Once you use this trait, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. Do you want to live as an orc of the old ways? Or perhaps use your gifts to forge your own new path? Either way, the orc's journey may be one you should take. Tieflings are either born in the lower planes or have fiendish ancestors who originated there. A tiefling is linked by blood to a devil, a demon, or some other fiend. This connection to the lower planes is the tiefling's fiendish legacy, which comes with the promise of power, yet has no effect on the tiefling's moral outlook. A tiefling chooses whether to embrace or lament their fiendish legacy. If you should choose the abyssal legacy, you gain resistance to poison damage, and you also know the poison spray cantrip. If you should choose the Thonic legacy, you gain resistance to necrotic damage, and also know the chill touch cantrip. And if you should choose the Infernal legacy, you gain resistance to fire damage, and also know the Firebolt cantrip. Tieflings are humanoid, medium-sized, about 4 to 7 feet tall, or small, about 3 to 4 feet tall, with a movement speed of 30 feet. They also have dark vision with a range of 60 feet. Due to your otherworldly presence, you know the Thaumaturgy cantrip. When you cast it with this trait, the spell uses the same spellcasting ability you use for your fiendish legacy trait. When selecting your legacy, you can choose between intelligence, wisdom, or charisma to be your spellcasting ability for the spells you cast with this trait. In the 2024 Player's Handbook, there are 12 classes, those classes being Barbarian, Bard, Cleric, Druid, Fighter, Monk, Paladin, Ranger, Rogue, Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard. Barbarians storm with rage and wade into hand-to-hand combat. Will you follow the path of the Berserker to unleash raw violence? Or will you follow the path of the Wild Heart to manifest kinship with animals? Perhaps you will follow the path of the World Tree to tap into cosmic vitality. Or you will follow the path of the Zealot to rage in union with a god. Barbarians enjoy battle, with strength being their primary ability, and them having a average complexity for players. Bards perform spells that inspire and heal allies, or beguile foes. As a bard, you can join the College of Dance to harness agility in battle, or join the College of Glamour to weave beguiling Feywild magic. Maybe you can join the College of Lore to collect knowledge and magical secrets, or join the College of Valor to wield weapons and spells. Bards like performing, with charisma being your primary ability and a high complexity for players. Clerics invoke divine magic to heal, bolster, and smite. As a cleric, you can harness the life domain to be a master of healing, or you can harness the light domain to wield searing, warding light. Maybe you can harness the trickery domain to bedevil foes with mischief, or harness the war domain to inspire valor and chastise foes. Clerics like gods, they're holy people, simple to put it. Wisdom will be your primary ability with an average complexity for players. Druids channel nature magic to heal, shapeshift, and control the elements. As a druid, you can join Circle of the Land to draw on the magic of the environment. You can also join Circle of the Moon to adapt powerful animal forms. Maybe you would like to join the Circle of the Sea to channel tides and storms. Or perhaps you would like to join the Circle of the Stars to gain powers in a starry form. Druids like nature. Wisdom is their primary ability with a high complexity for players. Fighters master all weapons and armor. As a fighter, you can embody the Battle Master to use special combat maneuvers, or embody the Champion to strive for peak combat prowess. You can embody the Eldritch Knight to learn spells to aid in combat, or embody the Psi Warrior to augment attacks with psionic power. Fighters like weapons. Strength or dexterity will be your primary ability with a low complexity for players. Monks dart in and out of melee while striking fast and hard. As a monk, you can become a warrior of mercy to heal or harm with a touch. Maybe you want to be a warrior of shadow to employ shadows for subterfuge. Perhaps you want to be a warrior of the elements to wield elemental power, or a warrior of the open hand to master unarmed combat. Monks like unarmed combat. They're just with the fisticuffs all the time. Dexterity and wisdom will be your primary ability with a high complexity for players. Paladins smite foes and shield allies with divine and martial might. As a paladin, you can swear an oath of devotion to emulate the angels of justice. You can swear an oath of glory to reach the heights of heroism. You can swear an oath of the ancients to preserve life, joy, and nature. Or swear an oath of vengeance to hunt down evildoers. Paladins like defense. They're defenders. Tanks. Strength and charisma will be your primary ability with an average complexity for players. Rangers weave together martial prowess, nature magic, and survival skills. As a ranger, you can embody the Beastmaster to bond with primal beasts, or embody the Fey Wanderer to manifest Fey mirth and fury. You can embody the Gloomstalker to hunt foes that lurk in darkness, or embody the Hunter to protect nature with martial versatility. Rangers like survival, with dexterity and wisdom being their primary abilities, and an average complexity for players. Rogues launch deadly sneak attacks while avoiding harm through stealth. As a rogue, you can embody the arcane trickster to enhance stealth with spells, or you can embody the assassin to deliver ambushes and poison. Maybe you want to embody the thief to master infiltration and treasure hunting, or you want to embody the soul knife to strike foes with psionic blades. Rogues like stealth, they love stealth, with dexterity being your primary ability, and a low complexity for players. Sorcerers wield magic innate to their being, shaping the power to their will. As a sorcerer, you can channel aberrant sorcery to use strange psionic magic, or you can channel clockwork sorcery to harness cosmic forces of order. Perhaps you would like to channel draconic sorcery to breathe the magic of dragons. Or maybe you want to channel wild magic to unleash chaos magic. Sorcerers like power, could be dangerous, with charisma being the primary ability, and a high complexity for players, because that is a lot of magic. Warlocks cast spells derived from occult knowledge. You can form a pact with an archfey patron to teleport and wield fey magic, a celestial patron to heal with heavenly magic, a fiend patron to call on sinister powers, or a great old one for a patron to delve into forbidden lore. Warlocks like occult lore, with charisma being the primary ability and a high complexity for players. Wizards study arcane magic and master spells for every purpose. As a wizard, you can embody the Abjurer to shield allies and banish foes, or embody the Diviner to learn the multiverse's secrets. Embody the Evoker to create explosive effects, or embody the Illusionist to weave spells of deception. Wizards like spellbooks, with intelligence being your primary ability and an average complexity for players. Now, I could discuss every class's subclass up to like level 5 and the features and specials you get, but I'm not going to do all that because really I would just be reading from the book and it would just benefit you, someone with no experience doing this before, just to have the materials in front of you. This is to kind of help simplify the process, but when it comes to choosing details like this, nothing beats having the materials in front of you. That way you can reference things, you can go back, you can see, and you can build off of things you can actually see, not just try to keep up with my voice as I speak them to you, because I don't always enunciate the best. Now that both species and classes have been summarized with a little bit of mentioning of each class's subclass, I will now go a little bit into backgrounds. Not only will your class give you proficiencies, but your background will also give you proficiencies and a feat. Be sure to keep track of all of these so that way you can start to add them up when compiling your character's ability scores. Now, due to the amount of detail, there's not really, I don't think, a point in me going over each description of every background, because I do think that is something that, again, when you're looking at the details of building your character, would just be more beneficial for you to look at. I mean, sure, I could give you the description for flavor, but that would just be more taking up your ear with unnecessary wording for something that's just easier to do when you see what you're provided with for the background and how it can benefit you. So what we're going to do now is the backgrounds that are best suited for your strongest or primary ability. If strength is your primary ability, you might want to go with an artisan, entertainer, farmer, guard, noble, sailor, or soldier background. If dexterity is your primary ability, you may want to go with an artisan, charlatan, criminal, entertainer, guide, sailor, scribe, soldier, or wayfarer background. If constitution is your primary ability, you may want to go with a charlatan, criminal, farmer, guide, hermit, merchant, sage, or soldier background. If intelligence is your primary ability, you may want to go with an acolyte, artisan, criminal, guard, merchant, noble, sage, or scribe background. If wisdom is your primary ability, you might want to go with the acolyte, farmer, guard, guide, hermit, sage, sailor, scribe, or wayfarer background. And if charisma is your primary ability, you might want to consider the acolyte, charlatan, entertainer, hermit, merchant, noble, or wayfarer background. Feats are special features not tied to a character class. A feat represents a talent or an area of expertise that gives a character special capabilities. It embodies training, experience, and abilities beyond what a class provides. To take a feat, you must meet any prerequisite in the description unless a feature allows you to take the feat without the prerequisite. If a prerequisite includes a class, you must have at least one level in that class to take the feat. The benefits of a feat are detailed after any prerequisites are listed. If you have a feat, you gain its benefits. A feat can be taken only once unless its description states otherwise in a repeatable subsection. Reading over this long list of feats would be incredibly fun. I think it would be far more useful if I just gave you a few examples so that way you see how varying these feats can be and what they can provide your character to use how you feel. For example, the alert feat gives you initiative proficiency, which means when you roll initiative, you can add your proficiency bonus to the roll. You also can have an initiative swap, which means immediately after you roll initiative, you can swap your initiative with the initiative of one willing ally in the same combat. You can't make this swap if you or the ally has the incapacitated condition. The Savage Attacker feat means you've trained to deal particularly damaging strikes. Once per turn when you hit a target with a weapon, you can re-roll the weapon's damage dice twice and use either roll against the target. For the Athlete feat, you must meet the prerequisite of level 4 or higher with a strength or dexterity of 13 or more. With this feat, your ability score increases by 1 on either your strength or dexterity ability score. Your climbing speed is also now equal to your movement speed. When you have the prone condition, you can right yourself up with only 5 feet of movement, and you can make a running long or high jump after moving only 5 feet. Normally, if you are getting up from the prone condition, that takes half of your movement. So on top of the ability score increase with this feature and the jumping, you also save yourself so much more movement if you have to get up from the prone position. With the 3 examples I just gave you, one increases your ability score, the other just lets you re-roll dice, and so on. So they vary in multiple ways. That's why it doesn't make sense for me to just sit here and read all of these to you and waste any of our time. So when building your character, you have the ability to either at certain level ups as described in your class level up sheets, as you'll see, you can either increase an ability score of yours. You can increase 1 by 2, or you can increase 2 of them by 1 each, or you can forego that to then choose a feat which gives you any of these special features and potentially increases your ability score or gives you anything else. Features giving you ability score increases is new in the 2024 5E update, which is why I was saying I think it gives you a little bit more versatility when choosing how to build your character and play, because before it would either be increase your ability scores or choose a feature. You don't really get a middle ground. Now you get to choose features which make playing more fun, and you also get to increase your ability score, so you kind of still have a score you can idolize to build for, so that way you're not choosing some cool feature over actually increasing your strength. You just have to do a little bit of changing around to get your strength where you want it to be or your dexterity where you want it to be, and then you can utilize the feature to best help your character. So hopefully that helped clear things up a little bit about feats. Now with this information in your hands, here are a few steps to creating your character. Step 1. Choose a class. Every adventurer is a member of a class. A class broadly describes a character's vocation, special talents, and favorite tactics. Step 2. Determine origin. A character's origin includes 2 elements: background and species. How did the character spend their years leading up to a life of adventure? Who are the character's ancestors? You can also choose your character's languages. 3. Determine ability scores. Much of what your character does in the game depends on the character's 6 abilities, as covered in episode 1. Now, if you look in the book, step 4 says to choose your alignment, but you may be wondering, why didn't we even talk about alignment in this? What is this alignment we speak of? Well, alignment is something you should discuss with your DM. It isn't a complicated process, but for simple character creation and just getting into the flow of play for D&D, alignment is something that I've noticed tends to get new players hung up on a little bit, with unsure of how they should play it or how it's utilized or something like that, and that's fine. When you get into longer games, yes, alignment may come into handy, but especially with just starting out and building a character and getting used to the system, unless your DM says you have to have an alignment, I wouldn't worry about it. Just try not to ruin the game for everybody else at the table. If you guys are trying to be good guys, be good guys. You know, you can do some dastardly stuff, but don't like completely try and hijack the table to be like your own supervillain. Don't be that player. I might have a conversation about being those players, but that I'm assuming if you're here, chances are you won't be. And let's just remember to never be those players. All right, fellow nerds. In this episode, we summarized magic, how to cast magic, the schools of magic, and some of the preparation your class might need to go through to use magic, if able. We also summarized character creation. We went over species, classes, subclasses, and a little bit about features and backgrounds. Next episode, we will cover equipment and finally tying everything together by implementing the 2024 character sheet. Thank you for listening, and until next time, take care.